once in a while somebody would cross through, I could see. But the most I could have hoped for was getting them to stop shooting and taking cover and, stop shooting protesters. That would have been the most I could have, hopefully give those people a minute to get out of there.
I mean, obviously the question in a lot of people's minds is, were you prepared to shoot somebody?
I've been asked that question a lot, and I don't know how to answer it. No, I don't want to shoot anybody. I wasn't prepared. I've never been prepared to shoot somebody. I've been prepared to defend myself. But at the time, you're just hoping it doesn't happen. I mean, that's it. At the time, that's all. Just hoping, please, God, don't let them shoot these people.
Right.
Looking back on it, if they would have fired on those people in the wash, you're damn right. I hope to God somebody did. I hope somebody was willing.
And I mean, I assume, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know you very well at all, obviously, but I mean, I assume you haven't shot anybody.
No.
Or shot at somebody.
No.
So, I mean, that must have been. I can't imagine.
Right.
I've been in violent places, but I've never had a weapon. So I mean.
Well, and I remember thinking, this is my country, right? This is America, and those people over there are Americans, and that's a weird feeling. I've talked to vets before, combat vets, and they're always able to go back to, that's the enemy, right? Kill or be killed. That's the enemy. They're shooting at you. Shoot back. But with us, we had to, I mean, at least I can speak for myself. I was very present in the fact that those are my countrymen over there, and that these are families down here. And I mean, if it would have happened, it would have been a bloodbath. It would have been, I can't even think about what that would have looked like. All I did and all I could do was react to a situation as I saw it. And, frankly, I believe we showed restraint. I do. If somebody's pointing a rifle at you, as a human being, I think you're more than, you got more than, I don't know how to say it, right? But you have the right to defend yourself. And I can take it back to court, right? One of the defenses for assault on a Fed is, did you know he was a federal agent? And was he acting over, what is the technical legal term?
That's okay. You can take your time to
right. If he is acting out of his jurisdiction and beyond, if he's hurting somebody,
overstepping his authority.
Yeah, if he's hurting somebody, if he's excessive force. That's the word I was looking for. If the force is excessive and you didn't know it was a Fed, that's a criminal defense for assault on a Fed. And it's one of the only ones. So we were trying to get that jury instruction because we had both. Honest to God, we was looking from 200 yards away, wasn't sure who they were. I got guys in multicam, I can show you pictures and go, hey, does that look like a BLM to you? And to me, it was excessive to level out on those protesters. You know, that to me is excessive. If there's a bunch of people standing in the wash with their hands up, literally with their hands up, saying, hey, you go home, we live here, and you take your rifles and put them over the truck and start scoping them and start, you know, there's a problem there. There's a problem there. That's excessive to me.
Right.
Judge wouldn't let us have it, right? Because we couldn't bring in enough evidence to show those things.
Oh, so you weren't able to...
No.
Okay.
So even without that jury instruction, the jury still looked at that and said, nah, nope.
Wow. Okay. Did it, I mean, when you were there, did it sink in, like, and if I'm mischaracterizing this, please tell me, but it did sink in that, like, you might be pointing a weapon at law enforcement, even justified or not, like the gravity?
No. It was more of these guys, I don't know who they are, and they're pointing guns at families in the wash, right? Like I said, there was really no telling me they weren't private contractors at first. From looking through the binoculars and seeing the gear and the helmets and all the other stuff, in that moment, and I don't know if I was telling myself that or not, but in that moment, that's what I was thinking, is it's got to be, you know, the BLM doesn't have an army. Right? Where'd they get the army? They had to buy it. You know, right. I don't know. So no, it didn't. It was just human beings over there pointing guns at people standing there exercising their First Amendment.
At any point were you concerned that you might die?
Yeah.
Like that was going to be it?
Yeah. I remember thinking, I'm never going to get to make my kids pancakes again. That was one of the, I remember that thought, right? Yeah. Because I really did think they were going to shoot those people, us. So yeah, I mean, that was definitely on my mind. People liked the picture, right? But they had us pegged. That picture isn't as great as, you know, there was no making it out of that situation alive, right? No matter what, whether that's the state cop that's on the edge of the bridge over there, or whether it's the guys with the sniper rifles up on the ridge, or, you know, there was no making it out.
Was there anyone over there on the bridge with you guys who was kind of taking the lead and like yelling anything out, like trying to keep people on the same page?
I did. I remember telling everybody, if they shoot tear gas into the crowd, don't open fire. You know.
Were you? I mean, so were you worried that somebody might jump the gun?
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I've never seen it before, but I imagine if you shoot a tear gas canister at a full-grown horse standing next to a bunch of 6-year-olds, it's, you know. So I mean, there was just so much, but I mean, I did try to say, hey, you know, don't fire unless fired upon. But I also was focused too, so I mean, I don't really know what other people were doing on the bridge. I know an officer walked by me. I couldn't get him to come testify, right? And there was no pictures of that one specific, but Highway Patrol literally walked down that bridge and stepped over my feet.
While you were prone?
While I was prone.
Wow.
Asked my buddy who was standing next to me, Steve, to have me move my feet off the yellow line.
That's surreal.
It is.
Wow. You know,
there was a lot going on out there.
Right.
There was a lot going on out there. The Highway Patrol, the state police, they knew in the Discovery there's a dash cam where they're talking before they went. And they're talking about the situation and how it escalated the past 3 days. And the one officer says to the other officer, well, you know, it's all Harry Reid.
What did he have to do with it?
So, glad you asked.
Was he? Oh, I guess he. Oh, yeah. Of course, he was still in office, right?
Yeah. His son, a lawyer, Rory Reid,
Okay.
was a lawyer and working for a Chinese company. It's a Chinese solar company. One of the things I found when I was looking into the Bundy Ranch before I went was a BLM document that said that they had to get the trespass cattle off the property for the project to continue. So there's a project out there. They're trying to put in solar panels, right? Cliven won't deal. He won't remove his cattle. And Rory Reed puts Neil Corrence in charge of the Department of the Interior in that district. And about 3 weeks later, they're out there with them with machine guns, removing the cattle. So Neil Corrence worked for Harry. Harry put him in charge of the BLM right there in that area. The son had a lot of financial investment in the company and the solar project. And the Chinese weren't going to finish the project unless they had what they called a nature easement there.
A conservation easement, or is
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
that what it is?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, some sort of nature easement that they wanted along the side of the panels for the tortoise.
Oh, this is
The desert tortoise.
endangered desert tortoise.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Now, they won't put the money into the nature easement without the cattle being removed. Okay, so now this big, huge project is at a standstill because of the cows, right? And then all of a sudden, Neil Corrence gets put in charge of the BLM. 3 weeks later, they're out there with an army, body slamming people, holding people at gunpoint, snipers above bridges, so.
Is there documentation for that?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, like that's publicly available.
Sure. Yeah, just got to look into it a little bit. It'll come up. Just type into old Google. Rory Reed ties to the Bundy Ranch, Chinese solar farm. There was a lot going on out there.
And I mean, just to make sure, do you think that was the spark for this to get started?
Sure. I believe, having done a lot of looking since then, there's a few uranium claims out there on that land. He doesn't own the land. He owns the water rights.
Oh, okay.
Okay? The water rights are attached to the forage. Because that's what it is. The forage is for the cattle or goats or sheep or whatever. The water rights is to water your stock. So he owns the water rights. It's deeded through the state, signed. He owns them. Family's owned them since before Nevada was Nevada. Now, if you were to want to mine uranium, you would need water.
Right.
Okay? So that's one aspect. The other aspect, you have environmentalists that bought into the whole tortoise thing and got worked up into a frenzy there. I believe the Center for Biological Diversity was suing the BLM at the time for not for not collecting the cows and not doing something about it. The BLM at that time said he had even in those legal stuff, they said Cliven has the rights to the water, right? So he's got beneficial use rights. We can't really, there's this gray area. Yeah, we're charging him, but he won't sign, so there is no contract. And yes, he does have these rights, and so there was all this other stuff going on. But it's a fact that there's claims out there for uranium. It's a fact that Rory Reed was working with this Chinese company to put in a solar farm out there. It's a fact that Harry stood to profit from that through his family and put Neil Corrence, a guy who worked for his campaigns and worked for his cabinet or whatever as governor, or whatever he was, senator, sorry, in charge of that district of the BLM. Got him in that position, and then this army came, and what did they do? They were removing the cattle. So what is beneficial use works a specific way. If those cows aren't out there using the water, then somebody else can file on it.
I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
Okay, right? So all of a sudden, they're out there removing the cows, right? The protest.
Sorry,
It's all right.
I just
You know,
this is
right.
really interesting, so I don't want you to get interrupted
Right.
by some rich guy's private jet. It sounds like 'cause that was going pretty fast.
It's a leer. So the protest when the body slam happened,
Mm.
and Ammon was tased. What?
Remind me again. Was it was it the Bundy brother who was body slammed, or was that just a protester, different protester?
So here's how that day happened. They saw them coming out of the desert, the convoy of BLM coming out of the desert. They went over to see what they were doing. They had heard rifle shots out there. They had heard all kinds of different stuff. They knew they were shooting the cows. They were killing the cattle. They believed that the dead cows were in the back of a dump truck. They wanted to see in the dump truck. So here comes this convoy. Here comes the BLM. The BLM set up, and Ammon drives up onto this hill. The road cuts through so that he can see down into the truck as it drives by. Well, there's no dead cows in it. It's all water tanks and water pipe. So what they were doing was ripping out private property. These are water tanks that the family has put in, maintained for however 100 years or whatever. Why would they do that? They would say we're just cleaning up the desert, right? But we know that this is private property he owns, and it's part of the proof of beneficial use.
I got you.
Okay.
I see where you're going. Yeah.
So they're trying to see. They think it's dead cows. Turns out to be water troughs that they're ripping out. They did not want the people to know that they were ripping out water troughs and tanks. So here's this point where they're trying to see in, and one of the women gets a little close to the convoy with her camera, just trying to see. An agent comes through the crowd, BLM agent, grabs her, picks her up, body slams her away from the convoy. Ammon comes down on the four-wheeler. They end up tasing him. He's trying to stop the truck. He wants to. Why are you taking my shit? My stuff. Sorry.
It's okay.
And that's where this flashpoint occurs. They tase Ammon. They sick the dogs on him. They had just body slammed his aunt.
Now, was he on the vehicle and they tased him? Like, did he fall off his ATV? Like, what?
No, he pulled the ATV in front of the dump truck and got off. All the agents swarm him. They come over and they've got dogs, and the dogs are jumping, and you can see the one guy's trying to sick his dog on him, and Ammon kicks the dog, which after that, that's when they